Hello, everyone. It's George from Ireland. Well, welcome back to my channel. And in this, I'm talking about Oxxxymiron, as in he's the well-known Russian rapper. So that's not actually his name is just Miron. He took Oxy, as in he was reading English at Oxford University, St. John's College, methinks. And what else? Miron from his real name, but it's a play on words. It's an allusion to oxymoron. So I knew him quite well. I was his colleague for a while, but this is years ago. And I knew he dabbled in rap back then, but I had no idea he was going to break through as such a superstar. Come from an unusual background from a Jewish family in St. Petersburg, and the Jewish community in Russia was very small. The time was like 0.5% of the population, if that. I believe he's fully Jewish, not particularly religious. His dad was an academic. They moved to Germany when Miron was little. Then they moved to Slough when he was 15, but he spoke English well enough to read the language, the literature at Oxford by the time he was 18, and spoke flawless English with the mildest of Russian accents. It was just vestigial. And then yeah, he was working as an educational consultant and things like that. Then when I went to Russia a few years later, in Moscow. I can't remember where that bridge is. Just you cross over the Moscow River from Kievskaya. There was this enormous poster of his face all the way up the building, like 20 meters tall or whatever, and on his neck had 1704 tattooed, as in the year of the foundation of his hometown, St. Petersburg, by Peter the Great. Engaged in rap battles against Ronnie Boy. So was he highly intelligent, great at extemporizing, so just very gifted, rhythmical, and so on. Was a superstar, married very young, but like they say, genius comes with madness. Like a lot of incredibly creative people, especially those who are performative in their artistry, he was plagued by mental health problems, as he said himself publicly. But he was personable, had a great sense of humor, was well turned out, was sincere, and he actually is the same one on one as he is in public. So that reflects well on him. But there've been some unsavory accusations against him, accusations of crimes as serious as rape. Now, I have no idea if he's guilty of these or not, but obviously the presumption of innocence extends to everyone, including Miron. I mean, I really wouldn't want to believe it because I liked him. I don't know if you can say I was a friend of his. I've not been in touch with him for years, but he seemed like a really decent chap. And obviously, that's the shocking thing, that someone who appears to be a very pleasant person can actually be a terrible felon and commit the most unspeakable acts against those who are defenseless. So, and in Russia, there's not a culture of denouncing people. Victims tend to suffer in silence. So it doesn't look good for him that people actually come out and said this. Um, it's been accused of sexually assaulting girls below the age of consent, which is 16 there, and various investigative journalists have come out about this. Now, in fairness to him, he is hated by the Putin regime. There's just a possibility this is character assassination. He bravely put his head above the parapet when the war broke out and said, "No, no war, peace, peace with Ukraine. We shouldn't be watching. This is a war of aggression." And then he's been back to Russia a few years. He's performed at a peace concert in Turkey and things like that. So it could be a hit job by the Putin regime. But I don't want to be seen to be saying anything in disparagement of his accusers. I just don't know. It's them against him. And there are more of them, but that does not in itself prove it's true. Maybe some of it's true and some of it's false. And so it goes on. So Nastya Krasilnikova, she came out with this on the Daughter of the Bandit show. Now, I don't think she's Putin linked, but really everybody in the Russian media, well, they can't say anything that the regime would find disobliging. So three women, and they've gone public with this, have claimed that he's done things to them. Sometimes he's groomed them as they were underage, didn't engage in any sexual contact below the age of consent, but prepared them for when they were overage. Or then exerted control, excessively controlling behavior. I mean, not just being somewhat domineering in a relationship, according to them, abuse them in some wise. And so the complainants have allowed their names to go public: Vera Markovich, Vika Kuchak, and Victoria Mikhailov. Anyway, so one of them, Miss Kurchak, she says at the age of 13, she was in contact with him via Vkontakte, which is a bit like WhatsApp in Russia. And there were these amicable exchanges, but it gradually became sexual. And he said things to her that one really should not say to a child of that age, and so on. I don't know whether her accusations are true or whether they're completely bogus, and that she went to a concert in Ufa, Russia, in Bashkortostan, and she claimed he, well, I don't like to say it, that he raped her. I don't know if that's true. So that's quite shocking for this star of, Russian liberalism. Would he do this? I just don't know. But anyway, we shall see. And so on. Another, Mikhailova, she claimed that he was asked for nude photos when she was 15. Did he know her age and things like this? But presumably there would be information about this. You could find this on the phones. I don't know his current whereabouts. But the thing is, in Russia, you don't get a fair trial. I mean, the conviction rate is over 99%. I realize that does not in itself prove that the convictions are all unfair or any of them unfair. There is ample evidence they're unfair, but it's not the conviction rate in itself. We mustn't just acquit people to bring the percentage down, or convict people to make it up. I know feminists want a very high conviction rate, as that's a success. No, a success is a just verdict, whether guilty or not verdict, you're not guilty. You can't be convicting innocent people to make up the numbers, or indeed acquitting innocent ones. Don't do this in order to massage the data. Deal with the case in front of you and not be concerned about public relations or appeasing totalitarian ideologies like third wave feminism. But coming back to Oxxxymiron, so I think he's better off staying out of Russia, where he could be sent down even if he's totally innocent. The way that judges will obviously very much favour the prosecution is all about what's useful for the state. So the judiciary tends to be totally complaisant and admit evidence which should be inadmissible and so forth, not allow defendants or defense lawyers to run a proper defense or to ask pertinent questions. Some defense attorneys have themselves been prosecuted on trumped up charges. So no, you don't have a right to a fair trial there. Sadly, they've even put a dead man on trial. Yeah, you heard that right, a dead man. Sergei Magnitsky, a year after he died, he was on trial, a bit like the trial of Oliver Cromwell. And the defendant sits in a cage just to make the person look guilty. There's no jury, by the way. And that cage was guarded, in case his ghost escapes. And that is the absurdity of Russian justice, or injustice, I should say, before Putin's completely pliant courts. So I don't know what's going to become of him. Obviously, this is very much adverse publicity for Oxxxymiron, at the very least, Oxxxymiron, or Miron Fyodorov, to give him his proper name. So I would suggest he's going to stay out of Russia for some time, but his reputational damage, I'm not sure where his career is going. But yeah, that's the odd person. That's the odd thing. He's just very personable, intelligent, witty, efficient. Yeah, nobody's got a bad word to say about him until these women came along, which is very worrying. Well, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon. Donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.